7 years ago, I started my journey as Sony Europe Imaging Ambassador. And this year, I decided to step down from that role and not to renew my contract. In today's video, I want to share with you how I became Sony Ambassador in the first place, for those of you interested in that path, what was like to be an ambassador for a brand like Sony, and why I left the program and what's next. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Magic. I'm a destination wedding photographer. I've been shooting weddings for over 12 years. And yeah, Sony has been no doubt huge part of my career as wedding photographer and educator, because I've started shooting weddings back in 2012. And my first cameras were Canon 5D Mark IIs, then I had Mark IIIs, Mark IVs, I had Nikon D750, I had Fuji X Pro 2, Fuji X100S, and I even had Sony A7S, the first version. So I kind of shot it all. I just loved cameras. And in 2017, I was approached by Sony. I still remember this email to this day. I was at the wedding in Iceland, which was quite epic, by the way. These are the photos from that wedding. And at that time, Sony has released Sony A9, the version 1, a few months prior to that email. And they straight up emailed me like, hey, are you interested in trying it out? It was like completely out of the blue, because I have never met Sony reps before that. They were quite non-existent in our wedding photography space bubble back then. And you might be thinking, hola, they emailed you? So yes, and back then I didn't have this YouTube channel at all. So let me explain. At that time, I've been shooting destination weddings. I'm based in Warsaw, Poland, and I was engaged in building the local communities of wedding photographers here. So I was involved with Looks Like Film community. Remember that? It was a huge back in the day. I hosted big events here in Poland, and I was very active online, creating and nurturing quite big Facebook groups for wedding photographers. I also hosted big local conferences, and one of them was called Boring Workshop. I co-hosted this with my friend Mark, and we had 4 editions of that until COVID killed it. So I was quite known, let's say, in that online space, and especially of young wedding photographers. So I knew a lot of people, and a lot of people knew me. So you could say I had the renoma, and Sony at that time was completely non-existent in the wedding space. As I said, everyone was shooting Canon, Nikon, or Fujifilm. So here I am at my first wedding testing Sony A9, which was absolutely insane. This was groundbreaking technology. The autofocus, I remember testing this on my kids, and I was like, for real? Then I got to test the A7R III that just came out, and I loved the mirrorless capabilities. And none of my previous cameras could come close to that performance. And after a few months of testing, I actually got offered to be an ambassador for Sony. And believe me or not, it was not an easy decision, because at that time, I was literally thinking, Sony is such a niche brand in our industry. I'm not sure if it's a good decision or not, but I absolutely loved the system. So I was like, okay, let's do it. I agreed to the role. And then, I think at the same time, Sony A7 III came out, and that changed the game for Sony 100%. The first event I hosted working with Sony was our Boring Workshop conference, and that was shortly after that launch. And I remember people were switching to Sony like crazy. I think we sold over 50 or 60 cameras at that event, which kind of solidified my position in Sony for the next years to come, as the guy was like, oh my God, everyone's switching thanks to that guy. So looking back, I kind of wasn't invited because I had a massive following on YouTube or something like that. I didn't even have one yet. It was because I was deeply involved in the community. I was organizing conferences, building Facebook groups, helping photographers connect. So I was in the trenches, and people trusted me. And then Sony saw that. And when they brought me on as an ambassador, they weren't just backing a photographer. I think they were more tapping into what the whole network that I created, trying to kick into that wedding industry. And honestly, that part hasn't changed, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, workshops, or Discord. If you're creating genuine value and bringing photographers together, that will always get the attention of brands, because that's what they want. They want someone who is trusted in the community and someone that can build respect for that brand. So what was it like to be Sony ambassador? Well, I'm pretty sure it's different in each region. So Sony ambassadors in Europe, just like me, have different contracts and deals than those in North America or Asia. So I was the part of European program, and I was managed directly by my Sony local team in Poland. And just to clear things up, you might be thinking you probably got like all this stuff for free, blah, blah, blah. No, like I never got any free cameras or lenses. So my contract required me to be available to host a certain amount of in-person local workshops per year, and I was paid for that. And then beyond that, there were always more opportunities to do extra work for Sony. So more workshops, writing articles, creating videos for resellers, and those were all paid gigs. So I was making money with Sony, and then I could spend that money on gear, and I could buy the gear cheaper, through them. So honestly, I was living happy life. It was happy life, shooting destination weddings, hosting local workshops with Sony, organizing my own events. Yeah, like it's a dream. It was a dream until COVID hit, because that basically shut everything down. So no destination weddings for 2 years, no workshops, nothing. I was kind of left with nothing to do. So the two things that saved me back then were two brands I actually worked with at that time. One of them was PickTime. I started hosting webinars for them, which I still do until today, and even help with customer support for a bit, which, let's say, it wasn't my calling. And now they're a big sponsor of the channel, and if you haven't, please check them out. The best gallery system for wedding photographers. I will leave the link in the description. PickTime is amazing, and I thank them for everything. And the other one was Sony, because I reached out to the Sony team and I asked, like, hey, is there anything I can do for you remotely? So maybe you need more articles, something that I can do from home during COVID. And they said, how about you make some YouTube videos for one of the major resellers here in Poland? So I did. I made a series of 8 videos in Polish. I linked them below if you want to check out my first YouTube steps. And so because I was doing them like weekly, that was the moment I thought, like I could actually do this YouTube thing for myself. And during the same time period, I got my first pre-launch lens to test. I signed NDA, and I've been ambassador for 3 years at that point. They gave me Sony 35-1.4G Master a couple months before it was released. And that became my first video on this channel. And what kickstarted my whole YouTube journey, that one lens, and then my drive to make videos weekly because I had nothing else to do. And that brings us to the reason for today's video, because the thing is that this channel is in English. Like, I'm not speaking Polish. I'm not speaking my own language. I'm speaking English. My local Sony team isn't really involved with this channel. They never sponsored any of my YouTube videos. But because I was an ambassador, they kind of got all of that exposure for free and that exclusivity. So don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. It was just never part of the contract, never part of the gig. I built this channel myself because I wanted to share what I learned about wedding photography and my experience with the gear I use. And because of that Sony contract, I kind of had to be exclusive. I say kind of because technically I was allowed to shoot with whatever I wanted. There was no hard restrictions. But, showcasing other brands, promoting them publicly while being Sony ambassador, that would have looked bad. And, I did make videos about third-party lenses, tested them out, and I absolutely loved that. But showcasing other cameras, it just wasn't the move. That would not be fair towards Sony. That would not be fair towards the audience. That would not be sure if they can fully trust my opinion. And yeah, so it was getting complicated more and more and more. And honestly, unlike back in 2017, these days, every camera brand has caught up. There's so much exciting stuff out there, especially the weird, unconventional cameras. And as a total photography fanboy and a gear nerd, I just want to try it all. It just like that contract is limiting me. Okay, so now that I'm free to shoot whatever I want, you might be wondering, am I switching camera systems? And I will tell you in a moment, because first I would love to invite you to something really special. My own retreat, my baby. This October, I'm hosting the 2nd edition of my Iceland retreat. It's a kind of magic. It's 5 days, 12 photographers, one epic house. We will shoot together behind the waterfalls, around the cliffs, lava rocks. We will learn together in daily master classes. I'll teach everything I know. I'll review each other's work, hang out in hot tub under the northern lights. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be epic. And right now, if you book before Monday, June 10th, so next Monday, this is a launch promo. You will get $800 off, and also my full Magic digital collection, including my courses, Flash Magic course, presets, Imagine AI profile, feedback video, and then I will throw in 90-minute one-on-one mentoring session with me. So spots are limited, 12 spots only, and this is the best deal I'll ever have. Link is in the description. Check it out after this video. And back to the big question. Am I switching? No, I'm not switching. I will still shoot my weddings on Sony A9 III. It's insane. It's insanely good. There's no reason to switch. And there's nothing currently on the market that can come close to what this camera can offer. And also, I love Sony being actually the smallest of the full frame systems, which just suits my traveling workflow. But since I'm no longer tied to just one brand, it means I can finally geek out and test anything and everything I've been curious about in the last years. And coming up, I actually have a new series where I go hunting for a perfect everyday camera to maybe replace my Sony RX1. And I'm talking cameras like Leica Q3, 43, which I just wanted to test for so long. Panasonic S9, like the most hated camera in the internet. It excites me actually. Sigma BF. Have you seen that camera? All these weird and wonderful gear is out there. I've always wanted to try, and this is coming to this channel. So all the cameras internet hates the most, I'm actually curious to test them out. And of course, I'll keep reviewing cameras, lenses, flashes, all from the perspective of a working wedding photographer. And because I'm still big Sony user, I'm not switching. That's probably going to be still the majority of the content on this channel, but I'm open now. Let me know if you have any particular non-Sony cameras, lenses you want me to try, compare, and I will make this happen. Big thanks to all of you because you made this journey possible. You made it all happen. Thanks for watching videos. Thanks for likes. Thanks for comments. Thanks for being in that community. And big thanks to my channel sponsor, PickTime, for supporting this journey so I don't have to hustle weird brand deals on every video. Thanks so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for more videos. Check out my retreat and let's go.